You know those people who just walk into a room and they have that effortless ability to connect, to build trust, to make you feel like you're the only person there? Well, I'm here to tell you it's not a superpower. It's not magic. It's a system. And today, you're going to learn it. The reason some people are magnetic and instantly command trust isn't magic. It's a deliberate choice about where they place their attention. We're about to show you the counterintuitive psychological technique that instantly makes anyone feel seen and makes you unforgettable. But here's the paradox, the secret that changes absolutely everything. If you want to become more interesting, you have to stop trying to be interesting. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the charisma paradox. Then we'll diagnose the invisible wall that's blocking your connections. From there, we'll unpack the entire spotlight switch system. We'll get into the science of magnetism, the proof. Then you're getting a simple 3-step protocol to use immediately. And we'll wrap it all up with a new way of thinking. Charisma is a service. Okay, let's dive into part 1, the charisma paradox. This is the big idea that honestly flips everything we think we know about connecting with people completely on its head. It explains why our natural instinct to impress people is actually the very thing that makes us forgettable. Look, the way most of us operate, the default setting, it's a fight. We're all fighting for the spotlight, right? We're trying to tell our best story, share our smartest take, basically prove we're worth listening to. But the magnetic approach, it's the total opposite. It's not a fight, it's a gift. You don't take the spotlight, you give it away. The goal totally shifts from how can I be interesting to how can I make them feel fascinating. And that reversal, right there, that's the engine of the spotlight switch. So before we can really fix this, we have to get super clear on the problem. What is this invisible wall that just destroys connection, even when we mean well? Well, the answer is actually hardwired into our own brains. Okay, so let's name the villain of this story, the self-reference effect. This is a real, powerful cognitive bias. See, our brains are designed to process everything by asking one simple question. What does this have to do with me? It's great for survival, sure, but in a conversation, it's a huge liability. It's constantly yanking our attention inward, away from the person right in front of us. And because of that self-reference effect, something else happens. While someone is talking to you, this loud internal monologue, it just takes over. You know what I'm talking about. Instead of actually listening, you're just thinking, oh, what's a good story I have about that? Or what's a clever thing to say next? You're not really listening to understand. You're just waiting for your turn to talk. That internal monologue, that's the invisible wall. And the price we pay for this inward attention, it is massive. When people feel unheard, and trust me, they can feel it, they just instinctively devalue the conversation. They walk away feeling meh, like something was missing. And this is exactly where relationships, both professional and personal, just stall out. You can have 1,000 of these shallow talks and never, ever build the kind of trust that actually moves the needle. This is the problem we are here to solve. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, we've named the enemy, now let's get to the solution. And this isn't some vague advice like, oh, just be a better listener. No, this is a precise 3-part system designed to systematically rewire your attention and make deep connection almost automatic. And here it is, the whole system on one slide. Step 1 is the self-decentering pause. This is you actively, consciously shutting down that urge to talk about yourself. You feel it bubbling up that, oh, that reminds me of me, and you just don't. You pause. Step 2, you pivot into the high-gain inquiry loop. Instead of filling that space with your story, you ask these incredibly powerful, open-ended questions about their experience, about their process, their feelings, the lessons they learned. This makes them feel deeply seen. And finally, step 3, you use reflective amplification. You just briefly summarize what they said. Something simple like, wow, so it sounds like you felt really proud of how you handled that. Boom, you validate them and you lock in that connection. Now, this whole system, it might sound simple, maybe too simple, but the effect it has on the human brain is just profound. This is not just about being polite. This is a direct hack into our social reward circuits. Let's get into the science of why this works so incredibly well. The system's power really comes from 3 key psychological hits. The biggest piece of the pie, a full 50%, comes from activating the brain's validation circuitry. Another 30% comes from the clever way it hacks the other person's self-reference effect. And that last 20%, that's all about reducing social anxiety for both of you. Let's break that down a bit.
When you use those high-gain questions and you reflect back what they said, you're basically sending a powerful signal to their brain that says, I see you, I get you, you matter. This triggers a release of dopamine, that's the reward chemical, and oxytocin, the bonding chemical. Their brain literally creates a powerful, positive feeling and attaches it to you. Plus, by focusing on them, you're hacking their self-reference effect, making the conversation super engaging and memorable for them. And because you aren't desperately trying to think of what to say next, your calm presence makes them feel safe enough to be authentic.
All right, theory is great. We've covered the paradox, the problem, the system, the science. But now, let's make it real. Let's make it practical. This part is all about the actionable protocol you can start using today in your very next conversation.
This is it. This is the single most important rule in the entire system. It's the foundation of that self-decentering pause. It is a non-negotiable rule you have to commit to if you really want to see a change.
This phrase, and all its cousins, oh, something similar happened to me, or for me it was like, they're conversation hijackers. They just steal the spotlight. So from this moment on, when you feel that phrase coming, that's your cue. That's your signal. You execute what we call a neural pause. You just stop, take a breath, and you redirect the focus right back to them. So here is your implementation drill. Step 1, the decentering rule we just talked about. Forbid the phrase, pause, redirect. Simple. Step 2 is the high-gain inquiry drill. I want you to make this a personal challenge. Before you share your opinion, ask 3 high-gain questions. So what was the hardest part of that process for you? How did that actually make you feel? What's the one lesson you took away from all that? And finally, step 3, the reflective exit seal. Before you say goodbye, you lock in the connection. It sounds like you handled a really tough situation with a ton of grace. That's seriously impressive. That seals the deal with a powerful dose of validation.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. We have the tactics, we have the science, but to truly master this, to make it feel natural, we need to internalize the core philosophy behind it all.
I want you to really let this sink in. Charisma isn't some magical trait you're either born with or you're not. It's not a possession, it is an intentional act. It is the service of providing another human being your undivided attention. It's the service of making them feel seen, heard, and valued. And when you start to see it that way, as a service, it stops being about you. It becomes all about them. So I want you to think about your very next conversation. Could be with a coworker, your partner, a barista. When that conversation starts, which choice are you going to make? Are you going to fall back into that old habit of fighting for the spotlight, or are you going to choose to provide a service and give it away? Here's my challenge to you. Just commit to the decentering rule one time in your very next conversation and just see what happens.
So let's wrap this masterclass up. The spotlight switch, it solves the problem of superficial connections and those forgettable interactions, which we now know are caused by our brain's pesky self-reference effect. And why does this matter? Because it gives you a systematic way to become magnetic and instantly build trust. The framework is simple. It's all about self-decentering and high-gain inquiry. And the science is what makes it so powerful. It works by activating the brain's validation circuitry and hacking into the other person's memory systems.
And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. Social effectiveness, real charisma, it's not about doing more. It's not about being louder or having better stories. It's about mastering systems that make genuine connection feel completely effortless.